Hey, everybody. Welcome to the morning market briefing. Thanks for being with us. It's Friday, June 5th, 2026. Lots to get to. Jobs report coming out as we speak, and we're going to get there, but it's been a minute since we've had a good Russia-Ukraine discussion, although we've covered this war for its entirety here on the podcast. But Zelensky now proposing that we should have some peace talks with Putin. Says that, hey, we want to wrap this thing up. We do not want a permanent war. And if you ask Russia, they would say the same thing. Trump, meanwhile, seems like they need the Trumpster to be involved in this, and yet Trump is pretty preoccupied with another war that he's trying to get wrapped up. The question is, how much does this move the needle, Tom?
Well, I mean, I think you could argue that given that all of the inflation was caused by Vladimir Putin's insidious price hike back in 2021, that should be positive for markets.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things, like a lot of these conflicts, I mean, going back 20 years, is eventually, at first it's a shock, and then after a year it's something people talk about, and after 5 years now it's been absorbed fully by the system. I mean, people don't talk about it anymore. There aren't a lot of Ukrainian flags flying high like there were. We've just moved on to the next thing. So I don't know. I don't really know how top of mind it really is for many Americans or even many market participants at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think it is. And then you look at if you just parachuted in and didn't know anything that had been going on between Russia and Ukraine, you'd say, oh, this sounds perfectly reasonable. But I don't know that we're actually getting anything from Zelensky that's new then. I mean, he wants the war to end. He doesn't want it to go on forever. He thinks that, hey, it should be done honestly and with dignity. And we should guarantee that the war won't start again. I think these are all things that he's wanted for 5 years.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, I think it's interesting he brings the Europe and the United States in toward the end of the letter. And I think this would be good if it's received well by Vladimir Putin, but I just don't know if it is. I think probably the biggest thing is that he's the newest thing that we're seeing is he's willing to meet just one-on-one. Let's just hash this out. At least that's what he's portraying. He's like, let's get rid of these middlemen. Like, let's talk about it and then bring Europe and the United States in where and when appropriate. But we got to get this figured out, which I think is more leadership, I would argue, than he's shown in trying to settle this. But I don't know if it's actually consequential.
Yeah,
I think it would be if it was resolved, to Tom's point. But
yeah, it seems like a nothing burger. I don't know. I don't have a great relationship with Vladimir Putin. I just want to put that out there. Not a friend of mine, but I certainly don't have reason to think that his expectations have shifted all that much. SpaceX, we continue to talk about the massive IPO, and it's going to continue to dominate the headlines for the next week plus, maybe forever, to infinity and beyond. But SpaceX now is being denied entry to the S&P 500. The S&P Dow Jones indices basically said, hey, no, we're going to stick to the existing policy that was already there. We want to see, some gap profitability, et cetera. And we're going to wait for 10% to be tradable. So this does change the scope of who is getting in.
And again, this is another correction and amplification, as they say in the news business. I was reading reports on this, very good reports, basically saying this was done. And I guess it turns out it was just a proposal and it wasn't actually done. So this is a negative surprise for the SpaceX IPO. And I think that you're seeing the response, getting a little bit more money in the IPO for Japan, loosening the leash a little bit in terms of attracting retail investment. They're lowering, Fidelity just lowered the amount that you have to have at Fidelity in order to get on the SpaceX IPO from $500,000 to $2,000. So that's a pretty big reduction.
I want to point out on that, on X yesterday, people were just going absolutely ballistic. This is so manipulative. This is so rude and mean, and you're bullying retail investors who don't know anything. And almost all of those tweets were from the same people who really decried when Robinhood wouldn't let people buy GameStop. How dare you shut out the retail investors. How dare you let the retail investors in?
I mean, what it's going to do is greatly limit the people who can buy it. I mean, that's just a function. That's how stocks work, unfortunately, is, at the end of the day, BlackRock owns 10% of every stock. So there's only 90% for the rest of us. And if they're going to limit the total number of shares, then it's going to be real hard for you, Joe Schmo, to get some. That's just life, man.
That's the game.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the S&P 500 inclusion is going to be interesting in terms of it not happening, and so I'm curious to see how this trades in the first day and then following. I think this SpaceX IPO is really going to be noteworthy in that I feel like more than any other company perhaps in history, we've had a fairly liquid pre-public market for the shares.
Yep.
I think whether you have this proliferation of all these trading platforms like Forge or Hive, a lot of special purpose vehicles that have been out, a lot of employees that have been selling stock, offerings to large institutions. If you really wanted to get in on SpaceX, you could have gotten on SpaceX before. And so I think that's going to make the IPO that's very different than Meta, for example, or Saudi Aramco. And so I'm curious to see how it impacts trading. I know there's a lot of excitement going into this, but will there be excitement after the fact? Or is it just like, yeah, I had some SpaceX. Did you have SpaceX before the IPO or after the IPO?
Yeah.
I did before. Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, though, because to your point about the retail investor, those are really the only people who don't have access, because you've got to be of a certain class in order to get into an SPV, in order to invest in private equity. And that can be a little bit of a nuance. So it's almost like it's almost two different stories, which is there's never been a company that's gotten this large prior to IPOing, which is unusual. There's never also been one where more people have gotten access to it ahead of time than before. But unfortunately, the person who's most likely to chase it is the only person who hasn't gotten to touch it. Whether you're a qualified buyer or any of the special or an institutional investor, there are certain rules that allow you to get in there. But we're licensed, we're able to get on SPVs and have no limits on income, but not everyone is. And then it becomes like you've almost got the most wealthy / or sophisticated people have already gotten in all along the line. Because, I mean, one thing that's interesting that Elon Musk has done is there have been semi-annual tenders all along the way to allow people who already work at SpaceX to cash in. Yeah, so which is also unusual. I mean, usually it's like you just got the golden handcuffs. You've got this stock. You can't get out of it. It's a part of your compensation, but that's kind of it. And you hope for an IPO one day. That's not been the case for SpaceX employees really all along the way, because that's how people get access to it, is through those tenders. So it's a beast all of its own. We've never really seen this before, and it's just going to be massive in terms of its market cap.
And SpaceX really picking up the digital roadshow, so to speak. They put up a maybe 18, 20-minute video with the CFO explaining the story yesterday. Jamie Dimon interviewed Elon Musk, even brought his mom out to say that she was proud of him, which was hot take from a mom,
Yeah. May Musk?
Yeah, old May Musk. So,
it's interesting. I wonder who's going to be buying the $80 billion of stock that's on offer, because it's also coming at a time where passive flows have dwarfed active flows, which means that it's a lot of just index funds. But if it's not going to be in the index, it's
like
it's going to be very interesting.
Who's to say that, like, does BlackRock, I'm sure through their venture funds, probably already own as much as they would naturally own.
BlackRock might be a net seller.
Yeah. So it's an interesting, it's just different. As with the IPO, I mean, Amazon didn't IPO at $1 trillion, and neither did any of the other $1 trillion companies, maybe except for Saudi Aramco. But like that was a sort of a different animal also.
Yeah, very.
But I mean, but like that was the complaint. I mean, Mark Cuban complained that you couldn't get rich unless you were in private equity in the mid 2010s, because he talked about how Uber grew to $50 billion before IPOing, and that was unheard of. But like $50 billion is nothing now for. I mean, look at all these other companies. I mean, Anduril's at like $80 billion.
And you have to think. I mean, we haven't talked to this at length. I know we have, in the office, but I mean, you also wonder what that does for the small cap space in general.
Yeah,
It used to be that, part of the appeal of a small cap stock was like, think of the growth that is ahead of it. If I can own a small cap and it someday becomes a mega cap, I've gotten a great return on my investment. Well, if you IPO at a mega cap.
I mean, that's NVIDIA, literally NVIDIA.
Yep.
I mean, it IPO'd at like 300 million or something, and now it's the biggest company on the planet. And it went all through the indices all the way up, and it was a non-factor in the S&P 500 10 years ago. And now it's the only stock that commands the size that it does.
But if you are if you do have a couple $100 million in EBITDA, why would you go public at this point?
Yeah.
Right.
Like the only small caps probably going public are speculative biotechs.
Yep. Yeah,
That's why the small cap index is full of a bunch of banks. Yeah, tiny banks. They merge and they become mid-sized banks, and then they get bought out. I mean, but most of them are not profitable. Most of them, they just stay small banks.
Lululemon. Hate to report, guys, down 12%.
No way.
They cut their guidance.
No way.
I don't even know what to say. It's a dog.
Doo-doo.
It's a dog.
Doo-doo stock. Yeah, man. That has any brand really fallen from grace more than Lululemon in the last 7-8 years? I mean, they really peaked pre-COVID and have just not recovered. I mean, it's just tough. They basically invented the yoga pant, and now the yoga pant is the bottled water of women's pants.
It's like the it's the Russell Athletic sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Yep.
People forget Russell. Somebody with a similar last name to my own created the sweatpant, and let me tell you, they've got the big the squeezy bottoms. You can see your big thick white socks. They're not. They get scratchy after one wash.
We love a squeezy bottom.
But listen, it had staying power. I mean, those were the only type of sweatpants until 1997.
I mean, they had a monopoly.
And then Under Armour came out and were like, we don't have to dress like this.
This is crazy.
And of course, Under Armour got market corrected by everybody else.
Well, then what was funny is we went from the squeezy bottoms to Under Armour doing not only is the bottom not going to be squeezy, but we're actually going to put a little zipper on the bottom of the leg in case you need to unzip the bottom of your pants.
Yeah. I mean, and ironically, joggers are just much cooler looking versions of that sweatpant.
Yeah, they've got a wider squeezy bottom, a little more elastic.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Was it cool down here in Georgia to unzip? Like if you were in a sport that day, was it cool to unzip the bottom of the pant?
Careful.
It depends. Were you wearing rollerblades or? That was really the best part about
bottom
the unzip.
of the pant. No, I don't think that was cool.
See, I didn't unzip, but then I would be made fun of when I was.
Oh, look at this guy. He's got his pants zipped.
Yeah. It's like one strap versus two straps with the backpack.
Yeah.
It comes and goes in waves, but two strapping was lame for a long time. But one strapping, they said was bad for your back and would do exposés on the news about. And then you had to go back to two strapping.
We used to have real problems in this country.
Yeah. And then the real scourge on society was probably when I was in 7th, 8th grade. People started with the rolly backpacks.
Oh yeah.
Which could not be more embarrassing culturally.
Yeah. So that was the beginning of the decline of America.
Yeah. It's like a clear indicator you were in chess club was your rolly backpack.
Yeah. Let's jump to the jobs number, guys. We're looking for a headline of 88,000. The last reading was at 115,000.
So massive fireworks today. I mean, I don't know what to make of this. Longtime listeners of the call will know that the jobs data is the most unreliable and overstated data in the history of data. But we came in at 172,000 jobs, and then last month was revised up from 115 to 179. And the unemployment rate stays unchanged at 4.3. So bonds are selling off now on the expectation that we would probably not need to cut rates. I just don't see any company. We didn't see a single company during earnings season
announce hiring plans.
Yeah. If anything, we saw a dozen, maybe more, double-digit percentage-wise cuts of employees. If you look at layoffs at FYI, which we've referenced a lot, we've seen the biggest tick up in layoffs in the tech sector since the first outbreak of COVID. We revised basically every job that's been created in the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers for the last 5 years. I would expect these to also be revised off. I still maintain that I personally think that unemployment is actually closer to 6%. But I just don't know how to interpret these data because we continue to see the bond market react like this is the gospel truth, and yet we know for sure that these numbers have been wrong every single month for, let's call it 65 straight months.
So I'll tell you, because we didn't see actually any jobs created in the regular economy last month.
Let me guess, government and healthcare?
Leisure and hospitality, which doesn't really, there's a lot of seasonal adjustments there, up 70. So just keep that running total. So we're going for 172 was the total.
So we're up
gain.
70.
70. Local government was 55. So we're at 125. Healthcare was 35. So we're at 160. And the last one, social assistance, 12. Perfect. It foots perfectly.
Like, even if you leave leisure and hospitality in there, we know for sure that the government numbers are typically 0. The healthcare numbers are typically 0. And the standard error we've seen over the last 5 years is 80,000 jobs per month, every month. So what you could say is at 170, we're basically we're right on top of expectations of exactly 88,000 jobs. So the beat is actually probably just flat over expectations.
And if this was a Jay Powell Fed, that wouldn't matter.
No, in fact, it'd be the most beautiful data you've ever seen.
This is unbelievable.
We need to
We
get
should
an
hike.
emergency press conference on the beautiful employment data.
We need to quad hike.
Yeah,
But
I'm setting the over-under at 2 million job revisions off the board this year.
But in a Warsh Fed, I wonder if that changes.
I would certainly hope there would be some more nuanced explanation for what their thinking is on these jobs, given the fact that they've been overstated by 80,000 a month, every month for years.
Yeah, you would think that at some point someone would be like, "Hey, this matters."
Yeah, but for the time being, we're in full hike mode based on the reaction today, which is opportunistic for me. We have, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood
I think they
of $2
should
million maturing today.
They should seasonally adjust the employment count and just take off 80,000 at every point of every season.
That should be the adjustment.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what we got, and we know that we're wrong by roughly 80,000. So this is the number.
Yeah,
And I just, I digress.
it's crazy.
It's been
Next week, we got Apple with their Worldwide Developer Conference.
So
on
we might
Monday.
get. Do you think we get AirPods with cameras in?
Man, that would be sick.
Can't
I'll
wait.
tell you this: if they're available, I get them. I would love that.
just
Just
basically
have like a fisheye footage of me going on a walk. That'd be sick.
I mean, anytime you're like, instead of how you take a picture of something weird that's happening, you just look at it.
With your ear.
Yeah, get it
with your ear. Just like.
Yeah.
We'll get small business optimism on Tuesday. We'll get CPI on Wednesday. We'll get PPI on Thursday. Michigan sentiment. Maybe this Ukraine thing will help bring those inflation expectations down. And then SpaceX trading Friday. So big week next week.
What's the over-under on when SpaceX's first trade will be? Because it's not
It's
going to be
usually
9:30.
like 11:30, 12 o'clock usually.
I'm guessing it won't trade until like close to 1.
It's going to be the only thing
I was kind of thinking
TV
it might
that
be
day.
earlier, just given how disparate the buyers are going to be. I think they're going to try to get this thing going.
The reason I say later is because SpaceX kind of set its price.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even go to
There's not even a range.
Yeah, we're just going to do $135 a share. Like, so that's what it is, and you're basically going to have to do the entire IPO on the day where it's first trading. Like, price discovery is not happening before the IPO prices.
Yeah.
Like, price discovery is going to happen in the horse trading before it opens.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
I mean, it's going to be great to have CNBC on. It's going to be an historic day, to properly use the AN before H.
They're going to
grammar.
They're going to be beside themselves.
It's going to be, the chart's going to be on TV all day. They're going to be just going bonkers. Jim Cramer's
X is going to be going bonkers.
Jim Cramer's going to be just going crazy. His sleeves are going to be all the way up around his armpits. He's just sweating.
He's going to be Belichicking.
Yeah.
He's going to just cut the sleeves off.
I mean, he's going to be like Soprano.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
Santelli. Who knows what Santelli says
I can't
that
wait.
day.
Clear my calendar.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm out of the office. Already cleared. Perfect. All right. We'll wrap it up there. Y'all have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.